I'm very happy to connect with you to discuss on effective business communication and tips for that. So the topic would be covered in two parts, part 1 and part 2. We are going to talk about tips for effective business communication when it comes to verbal communication. We will be covering a small caselet in the second half, and in the first half we shall be talking about the tips to make a very effective communication. So friends, there are so many tips available around. You can actually Google and you will find many tips. But I would like to discuss taking few examples to help you how the business communication can be made effective, especially when we are using verbal communication. Okay, so let's take first tip. The first tip is we must have very straight, very effective eye contact. So eye contact, as the title suggests, that we should be looking in the eyes of the person to whom we are communicating to, right? So if I am talking to you as one individual, I shall be looking in your eyes, I shall be looking at your face, right? It should not be that I am looking somewhere else and I am answering you, or I am questioning you, or I am sharing any information. So this is the first and the foremost important aspect to make the communication effective, especially when we are talking about the verbal communication, right? So the eye contact is that looking in the eyes of the person whom you are talking to. So you may be thinking, what will happen if we are talking, if one person, or we means like I am talking to more than one person. It could be a meeting, it could be a public gathering, it could be some mass address. What should we do? How to maintain eye contact with so many people? In that case, if you are making a public appearance, you are talking to more than one person, so it's a mass communication, right? In that case, you should be looking in the straight where the audience are, number one, and you should be paying attention to everyone. So for the time being, for example, if I started saying about and discussing any topic or delivering any speech, I should be first of all looking straight, I should not be looking down, and then I may look left, right, up, down, in all the directions wherever the audience are. So if it is a very big auditorium where we have audience all around, we should try to look around by moving our eyes, by moving our body even. So it all depends what kind of situation you are in. But important is not to look down. We should be looking in the eyes of the audience. If it is one person, then it is straightway looking at that person. But if it is more than one person you are dealing in, for example in a meeting, so it's not likely that all the person will be speaking at the same time. So in a meeting, let's say there are 10 people in a business meeting, and one person is talking about any particular point. So he or she is sharing her thoughts on the agenda. So you should be looking at his eyes if he is you are listening. But if you are talking, and there are 10 people, you should make a point that you should look into the eyes of the person if you are answering to a particular person. But if you are making a general point which is of relevance to all, then look around. So you can actually look left, right, for a few seconds look in the left side, few seconds look at the right hand side, so to all people. So you should not be looking down. Important is this, right? Of course, at one particular point of time, a fraction of second, we cannot look at all the people at one time, that I agree. But you can actually make out the person is looking at you and talking, or just looking down or somewhere else. It is a likelihood that someone is just shy, just hesitant in sharing the point, so just afraid of sharing the point. So person may be saying his or her point or putting across his or her point, but looking on the other side, looking on the side where nobody is sitting, right? So this happens. I have seen kids doing this with parents. The parents who are little hard with their children, and children talking about some point, some fact or something, some suggestion, some concern, they may not be able to look in the eyes of their parents simply because they are afraid of, right? Or maybe they are not confident about the point. So looking in the eyes of the audience is important, is the first tip. The second is we should have positive body language. So body language plays a very important role, especially when it comes to non-verbal communication. Body language is the part of non-verbal communication, as you know, right? So when we are making a verbal communication, vocal communication, especially in that case, your body language also plays an important role. If you remember in the last week we discussed that words do not play a very important role. This is the way we communicate our message, that's what makes an impact. So non-verbal language, the non-verbal gestures, so your body posture, body language, your eye contact, your smile, all those actually make a 90% of the impact of the message. So the message is being comprehended or understood by many more things than the words. Words are just 10% of the message, right? So remaining 90% is actually how do you communicate, how is your body language, how is your eye contact. Okay, so the second tip and the very important tip is be positive, be smiling, be attentive, be straight. We should be, our body speaks a lot. So what is our body? So if I'm saying sorry, to somebody because of any problem or any mistake I made, but my body language says that I am not sorry, I am just saying that word. It is very clearly shown through my body gestures, and it happens to us, right? Everybody doesn't mean when he or she says sorry. So you would have come across many people in life, right? So make sure your body language is positive. It is in coherence with what you are saying. Positive doesn't mean smiling all the time. We may have instances of sadness. We may have instances of sadness. Somebody you are meeting up who just lost his father recently, right? So I'm not asking positive doesn't mean smiling all the time, but positive means you are empathical at that point of time when you are talking to the person about the loss of his loved one, right? So your body language means you are trying to show that you are concerned, you are empathetical, you are with him or her. That's what it means. Doesn't mean all the time smiling. It should basically be coherent with what you want to communicate, with your words, with what you want to communicate. Okay. The third tip I would like to give is that be articulate. So articulation is the sound we make while speaking. So this is especially with reference to verbal communication. So we all make sounds, and sounds are different. Everybody has his or own style of articulation, but we have to be very careful when we are trying to articulate. We should not be making few mistakes. Like we should be sounding the word we want to communicate. Let's say for example, I want to say banana. I should not be sounding nana, right? So I just the first letter B is just been removed in my pronunciation, right? So we should be articulate. We should be making different sounds to communicate effectively, right? So for example, if I say you, so thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So if I say thank you, I am putting emphasis on you, right? Thank you. So I am putting emphasis on thank, right? So that makes a difference. So be articulative, so be careful about the sound you are making while talking. It's not so easy, believe me. Eye contact, positive body language, they are in our hand. Articulation has to do with many organs. the sounds come with the combination of, with the interaction of your tongue, your lips, your palate, all those areas, your throat, your lungs, right? So we should understand that everybody cannot make similar sounds while talking. So we should never try to copy anyone, but we should be careful if we can improve a bit. How do we sound, a particular word when we speak, or particular sentence we speak? How do we sound? We should be cautious about the fact. If you are just cautious about the fact, you will make some sense. You will be improving automatically if we remain conscious about this fact, right? Then the next point is that whenever we are talking to somebody through verbal communication, we should not be mumbling. So it means we should avoid mumbling. Mumbling is very common. Those are mumbling words. We should not be doing any mumbling. So to make the communication effective, this is also an important tip. Then moving forward, the next point is that we should avoid unnecessary repetition. Just think about your friends, your family members. Do you know people who keep on repeating the same thing? Just think about it. See, for example, in this communication, I used this think about it twice. Is it not irritating? It is. I should not be saying it again and again. Think about it, think about it. No. Right? So there are people who will say, I see, I see, I see. Okay, I will do that, I see. I will do that, okay. Oh yes, 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 yes. I have seen many people, yeah. Within one sentence, they may use these words many times. So it happens naturally with people, but they do not understand the person who is listening to them, to whom they are talking to, right? They are actually getting distorted because of this happen, and their attention goes on this repetitive nature of the part or the communication part, then on the message. This distorts the meaning, because some attention of the listener, of the person to whom you are communicating with, it goes away. To some attention, it diverts. So we must avoid unnecessary repetition. I am using the word unnecessary. It means there could be a business situation when it is important to repeat. We are carrying a meeting. Meeting was meant for 20 people. 15 arrived on time. We thought of starting the meeting simply because there was paucity of time, but 3 of them just entered after 10 minutes, 8 minutes or so. So whatever we covered in the initial 8 minutes or 10 minutes, some point was very, very important even for those 3 people who entered late. So I have no choice just to repeat the important part of the message or the discussion we had so far, right? So that is one situation, a business situation when we need repetition. So that is a necessary repetition, right? The second example I would like to quote is that to emphasize upon a particular fact. So the group of people I was expecting in a meeting was there from the beginning itself. All the 20 people expected in the meeting were well on time. We started the meeting well on time, since it was very, very important, because the chief guest of the function we are organizing next week was very senior political person, governor, chief minister, somebody like that, right? And you as a head of the institution, you do not want to go wrong anywhere, right? So you mention about that X person will be standing at this place, Y person will be standing at this place, X person will be doing this, Y person will be doing this. Everything was discussed in the meeting, defined. But before you close the meeting, in your closing remarks in the meeting, again you repeated, for X and Y. And maybe for those people who were you were little doubtful that they person are little less responsible, or there's a likelihood that they may commit a mistake. So you decided to repeat for them. This is not avoidable, because your past experience with these people, dealing with these two people, made you or compelled you or made you think that you need to repeat it. Or the those two people were not there in this example, for if we take for an instance, rather the subject was so important that you do not want to go wrong anywhere, and that's why you repeated the whole thing or some part of the conversation, just to emphasize the importance. So this is not unnecessary, this was necessary. Okay, so we have to make a clear cut demarcation that am I habitual of repeating a particular thing. For example, teachers are very candidly using after every small topic, right? Am I right? Did you get me? Did you get me? These are the few common sentences your teachers would be using very often. Did you get me? Did you get me? Am I right? Am I right? So what is this? This is unnecessary repetition. So there is a difference between necessary repetition and unnecessary repetition. So we have to avoid unnecessary repetition. We should certainly use the repeat, or you should repeat those words or sentences which are essential, which are required for sure. The next point I would like to make it, use an appropriate tone of voice. What is tone of voice? The way we communicate. So whatever we say, how do we say? This is what it means, right? If I say thank you, thank you, thank you. Did you notice the difference between the three times I said thank you? But there was a difference. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My postures were different, my tone was different in all the 3 or 4 ways I said thank you, right? So we have to use an appropriate tone of voice. I cannot be saying thank you. It's like I am no way thankful to you. I'm just saying it. Maybe somebody pushed me to say that. Same happens with sorry, same. So the tone of voice is basically how do we say what we say, right? So that is the tone of voice. It's the total expression, the complete, the voice, the tone and tenure. Like she was good, but her tone was very bad. She said something very nice, but her tone was very different. This time she spoke to me, her tone was very bad. Her tone was so annoying. You would have heard all these sentences from people. Why? Because the voice was not, the way we were saying was not effective, was not good. That's why this is how it was perceived by the listener, by the person whom you were communicating to. Okay? Then the next point I would like to make is that we should have a control on our emotions. We have to keep our emotions aside, and our message should be communicated as the way we want to communicate. The moment our emotions, I had a bad experience today in the morning while coming to office. I had a fight on the road. Somebody just banged into my car, damaged my car. I had very bad experience this morning, and I'm very angry, annoyed because there was no fault of mine, and somebody just banged it into my car. So let's say I have a meeting at 10 o'clock, I reached office at 9:15, and now my emotion of that angriness, that annoyedness with the person or the incident I had in the morning should not be coming on the way when I am having that meeting. It should not be transmitted to the people I am talking to. The people, sometimes you would have heard it very commonly. लगता है आज इनकी वाइफ से झगड़ा कर आए हैं, ऑफिस में, दिस इज वेरी कॉमन थिंग, लगता है सर आज अपनी वाइफ से झगड़ा कर आए हैं, जब टीचर डांट रहा होता है. सो आई हैव सीन दिस हैपनिंग इन द क्लासरूम, राइट. लगता है आज मैम हस्बैंड से झगड़ा कर आई हैं, अगर मैम डांट रही हैं तो. सर व्हाई वी से सो? बिकॉज वी एज ए स्टूडेंट आर एबल टू सी दैट देयर इज सम अदर इमोशन कमिंग अप which has nothing to do with the current situation, right? So the message I am saying, everyone has some good or bad experience all through the time. Those emotions which have nothing to do with the current communication should be kept aside. We should try to take a control of those emotions which we had with someone else or with some other incidents, right? So those emotions should not be brought into the conversation, should not affect your current communication with someone. All right. So then that's how the recipient will perceive or receive your message as it is. But if your emotions are involved, your message will not be received in the same manner you wish to communicate, which you are unable to communicate because of your emotions. Right? Coming to next point, use of common language. We have so many lawyers around, we have so many doctors around, so many accountants around, there are so many professionals around, right? And every profession has certain specific language, vocabulary. So if you are talking to a common person to someone who is not from the same profession, avoid using any technical language. We should be using as much common language as possible, right? We can actually be very effective in our communication by using simple words. If your body posture is good, your eye contact is good, you are wearing a smile, a confidence in your body, it's more than enough. Believe me or not, you need not to be using heavy words, difficult words, technical words. So those are the people who need approval. I have seen people who simply would consciously use or recall or carry few words along with them to use them in the meeting. Why? Because they need approval. They are approval seekers. They need more acknowledgement, more approval from others, and this is one of the way they think they are drawing attention from others, right? So कहते हैं ना भारी भरकम words, we should avoid using those भारी भरकम words. We should rather be concerned about the quality of communication and especially the non-verbal gestures, the non-verbal communication. Then we should be, whatever we are saying, we should actually be sounding that we believe in that. So believe in what you say, otherwise you don't say. So it means if you are convinced about something and you communicate, you will certainly be sounding confident about that and your communication would be imbalanced. So this is, saying something by conviction. You are convicted, you are sure about that, and then you are sharing. So that's believe in what you are saying. Okay? So it's basically you are in coherence with what you are saying. You are saying something else and your body is saying something else. You are saying something else, but you are trying to tell, see, this is not what I believe. I am saying it because मेरे बॉस ने बोला था. मुझे कहना पड़ रहा है because बॉस ने कहा है. ऐसा होता है. मुझे I don't believe it, but my dad, has told me to do that. So it means you do not believe in that. And if you're doing so, certainly the recipient is not going to be confident about what you are saying because he or she could see that you are not convinced about what you have said. So this is very common thing. We actually tend to ignore this fact that we have to be, we should be convinced about what we are saying. So this is the utmost important thing in our communication, and we are referring to verbal communication here. Then the next point is we should be pausing at the right place. So go ahead. So it makes a difference that what we say and where do we stop. So I was going through this and I came from, so if I'm making a very long statement without making a pause at the right place, people will not be able to comprehend or understand what are you trying to say, right? So we should be pausing at the right place to make a very, very impactful conversation. Pausing, stopping at the right interval is important. Then the next point is we should be handling objections. When we are making a verbal communication, when we are in a meeting, if I refer to business communication, we should be respectful whatever the other person is saying. Somebody is objecting to the statement you made. Be a good listener. Pay attention. Try to understand why he or she is objecting. Has she got some point? Is she objective? Is he objective what he is saying? Why he is making an objection? So be very careful in handling the objections raised by anyone during the meeting. And in this first half, I will just complete this discussion by making out one more point, and that is don't rush. Never ever rush to make a statement, make a point, put across your views, your argument. Just listen to the person carefully, understand the situation carefully, comprehend very well here, right? If we really give few seconds to the statement other person has said and then we respond, it's going to be more effective than just responding immediately without letting the person complete the sentence even, right? So don't rush to make your point. Take your time, reasonable time before you put up the point to the people you are talking to. So well friends, we will stop here for and we shall be meeting soon for the next session, part 2, where we will like to continue with the same topic in the second half. So thank you very much for being with me. Thank you.